Welcome to the CCP presentation meeting for Brush High School. I'm going to get started right on the slideshow. If you have questions or concerns or comments, please put those in the YouTube comment section and we will address those at the very end. Please be patient. There are quite a few slides to go through. So the CCP meeting is tonight. College Credit Plus is Ohio's dual credit program, meaning you can take college credits and earn high school credit and college credit at the same time. And the students are going to enroll in the college courses, and they're going to follow the rules by the colleges and their policies. So before you get started, you must complete an assessment to be determined if you're eligible. So let me back up just a little tiny bit on that. When you decide you want to do CCP, and we'll get to that a little bit later, you are going to have to decide what colleges you want to apply to. So you're going to have to apply. If you want to Tri-C, you apply to Tri-C. If you want Notre Dame, you apply to Notre Dame. And then once you get that application in, that's when you're going to have the assessment exam, and they're going to be determined if you're eligible to take CCP classes. If you don't score high enough for some of the colleges, you're not going to be able to take those classes. If you have a 3.0 in English classes are eligible at Tri-C, you'll still have to take the AccuPlacer for the math classes, but anything that has an English requirement, if you have a 3.0 GPA, you'll be able to take English classes and social studies classes at Tri-C. So you can apply to a public school or a participating private school. That means that sometimes if a student wants to go to, say, Baldwin-Wallace, if we don't have a memorandum of understanding with Baldwin-Wallace, then that's not going to be a school that you could attend to. And if you have questions or you don't know if a school is part of our memorandum, let me know and I can let you know if they are a partner school with us. You also have to be an Ohio resident, just to let you know that. You may choose from a variety of course levels. I strongly encourage students to start out at what they would call a freshman level course. So either a 1,000 level or a 100 level. We don't want you starting out too high. And most colleges have prerequisites anyways and requirements. So you're not going to be able to do it if you wanted to. You can earn credit to satisfy both the high school and the college requirement. My suggestion is if you're going to be a senior next year, I would really not like to see you take a high school requirement for graduation second semester your senior year. That makes me nervous. Because if we don't do well, then we have issues and problems. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you take a 3-hour credit course in college, that is one whole unit for high school. So for instance, if you took English College Composition 1 at Tri-C, that would satisfy an entire year of high school English, and you took it in one semester or over the summer. You must successfully complete the courses in order to earn credit. So if you fail the course, the child fails the course, or the child withdraws from the course, they will not receive college credit, nor will they receive high school credit. And that your college transcript and your high school transcript is going to reflect that F or a WF or a W. So please keep that in mind. Do not sign up for something or try to take a course that is you're not going to be comfortable with. So you can take classes in the summer, the fall, or the spring. This summer starts what we call your 30 credit hours for the school year. So if you want to take classes in summer of 2021, you can then take classes in fall of 2021 and spring of 2022, but you can only take 30 credits between those 3 sessions. Total, 30 credits total. You can take courses at the high school, where we do have one CCP course. We have CCP biology at the high school where you can receive biology high school credit and biology college credit through Tri-C taught by Mr. James at the high school. That's the only course we offer as of this moment. So to be eligible for College Credit Plus, you have to participate on those based on those assessment scores. So as I said, they're going to take you, it's called an AccuPlacer. Your scores must show that you're ready for college level. And I know that a lot of times parents are like, oh, my child is really, really gifted and they're great. And then they get to that college level. It's like, ooh, this was a little more than I anticipated. So that's why they make you take what they call the AccuPlacer. They could use your ACT or your SAT scores. If you haven't taken that, or if your SAT scores or ACT scores aren't high enough, they can say, well, let's take the AccuPlacer. If you score high enough on the AccuPlacer, you might be able to take a math course and a science course for that math section, because math and science are linked together. As I said before, if you have a 3.0 GPA, you can take the English or social studies courses without taking the AccuPlacer. But if you don't have a 3.0, then they'll make you take that AccuPlacer and score a specific score on on that test before you can take any of those classes. And every college has a different exam or a different requirement. So there's not like a carte blanche where here you go and that's the way it is. Even if you take the ACT or SAT, every college also has different requirement scores from those tests. They're going to review your scores using what they call statewide standards. And if you're not college level, then your scores are within a specific range. If you have a 3.0, like I said, and you get a recommendation letter from me or Mr. Williamson or someone else saying, you know what, they are ready, whatever reason they didn't test high enough, but they are ready. I hesitate to do that because I don't want to set you into a position that you're not comfortable with. So I would have to have a very long conversation with your child and you, the parent, to discuss what we want to look at. If you don't place or qualify to take freshman level courses in college, you take what they call like 0990 or 0900 instead of a 1000 level or a 100 level. Those are not considered college credits and they're not CCP classes. South Lyndhurst will not pay for those classes. So you must apply for admission. You fill out a college application just like you would if you were going to be a freshman. There is a place for you to distinguish if it's CCP. There is not a cost to apply for those college classes or for those colleges. Those of you who have had seniors know that there is usually an application fee. There is not one for CCP. You must meet their requirements for that college. And if you have questions about, well, if you want to go to Notre Dame or you want to maybe try Tri-C, look on their websites to see what those qualifications are. And they have the final decision. Even if there are certain things that we think, oh, the child might be ready, if the college feels the child isn't ready, that is their decision. We can't control that. And course registration. And once you are going to be considered eligible and you've been admitted, then the schools are going to start talking about course options with you. If you're, say, a younger student, like a 9th or 10th grader, and you're going to try to get an associate's degree, which has happened. We had a student last year get a bachelor's degree because he started his freshman year at Notre Dame and went through and got a bachelor's degree. He was very special. He wasn't the norm. Awesome student. And I would love to see a lot of kids do that. But they will talk to you about courses, prerequisites, and your assessments and your requirements. So keep in mind, even though they're talking to you, I still have to be involved in the conversation as the CCP counselor, so we are all on the same page of what's best for your child. So they can satisfy courses for graduation. I would sit down with you and I would say, oh, okay, College Composition 1, that is an English class that will satisfy your English credit. American National Government is another class that's offered at Tri-C. That would satisfy the government piece that you need to have for high school graduation. So we follow the state minimum, which is 20 credits. You need 4 English, 4 math, 3 social studies, which is world history, US history, and government. 3 sciences, which is a physical science, a biological science, and what we call an upper level science. But most college classes in science would be considered that upper level. You just can't double dip. You can't take a physical science in college and have that satisfy the physical and the upper level. You still have to take 2 different classes. You must complete your first 15 credits in level 1 courses, meaning you've got to do 15 credits, which some students can do in one entire semester, or between 2 semesters if they're going part-time and doing a hybrid schedule of half brush and half CCP. Those would be, say, like your, sorry, I'm having a brain fly away here. So it'd be like your college comp classes or your US history or a physical science. Those are considered level 1 courses. Most of those are transferable. So just keep in mind that not every college that your child may want to ultimately attend will take those classes, but some will. To give you an idea for the transferable, my son took physics class at Kent and got a B+ in the class in high school, went to the University of Cincinnati, his first major. They're like, that's great, but we're not going to take that class and count those credits. They will not transfer. He ended up changing his major, stayed at the University of Cincinnati, and his new major took those physics credits. So it even depends on what your major is in the college you're attending. So there's a lot of questions you'll need to ask for the ultimate ending school that I may not be able to answer. You'll probably have to call those colleges to see. Colleges must post their level 1 courses so we can see those on the websites, and you complete those and you can move on to what they call level 2 courses. Level 2 courses are any allowable college course for which the student meets the prerequisite. So if you meet that prerequisite, you don't have to take some of those other courses. Like they might not make you take a 0900 math. You can go right into the math, like there's a math contemporary math at Tri-C. Non-allowable courses include private applied courses with one-on-one instructions, such as like a performing arts lesson, a course that has a very high fee. South Eagle Lyndhurst pays for books and tuition, but if it is an exorbitant fee, then those classes are not allowed. We're not allowed to have a student study abroad or out of state and say, well, we're going to take a CCP class somewhere else, like say in Arizona or Florida, which would be great this time of year, or we're going to go to Paris. We can't approve that. Physical education courses are not allowed, so you cannot get the physical education requirement through CCP. You cannot do a pass-fail course. Last year there was the option because of COVID, but that is not an option this semester. And then remedial courses, as I said before, or religious courses. Grades for CCP are earned in the college course is the same that will be on your high school transcript. The one thing I will tell you is the high school will weight those class grades. So for instance, everyone knows that if you're a 4.0 student, you have straight A's. If you're in CCP classes, that A is not worth 4 points, it's worth 5 points. So if you take a CCP course and you do really well, it's going to bump up your GPA. And CCP courses are factored into your high school GPA and your college GPA. If a high school uses that weighted, like I said, so it's the same as if you would take an advanced placement course, it is the same weighted scale, which I said is a 5 is an A, 4.0 is a B. So if you have questions, you can find that in the course description book, which is on our South Eagle Lyndhurst webpage, or you can call me or email me and ask me questions about that, and I can explain more how that would look. You should consider a pathway that's interesting to you. A lot of times the students will say, well, I really want to go into psychology, and that's great. So take a psychology course. You get into that course and you're like, oh, no, I don't know. That's not something I would want to do. Well, that's great because now your parents didn't pay for that course and use that money in a course that you did not really enjoy. You found out in high school, that's not the path I want. So I want to go somewhere else. So that's something that's what this whole program is supposed to be designed for. A lot of students have earned, we have 2 seniors who will be earning associate's degree by the end of this year. We have a senior who already has her associate's degree and she's starting on her bachelor's, excuse me. And as I said before, last year we had a student who did get his bachelor's degree. His parents ended up paying for some of his schooling because he went above the maximum number of credits, but he still got a bachelor's degree as a senior in high school. So students may take the college credit plus courses in subject areas that's going to satisfy the graduation requirements. And then there's going to be classes that you can take that are not necessarily something that meets a graduation requirement. So if a student would want to take a college composition English class or take a US history class, that could satisfy high school requirements. But say they want to take a psychology class or they want to take another chemistry class. Those are elective courses, and we need so many elective credits anyways to graduate. You need 5 elective credits to graduate. So that could be something that could apply to that as well if you've already met your science requirements or one of the other requirements. So, but we definitely need to sit down and talk as me, the CCP counselor, whoever your grade level counselor is, and myself and the parent, and kind of make sure we come to an understanding and agreement. These are the courses that we suggest, we recommend, and what everybody agrees on. So we're all on the same page. You can be enrolled up into 30 credits per year. However, if you're doing what we call a hybrid schedule, so you're half CCP and you're half Brush. So you're taking 2 classes at Brush and you want to take 3 3-hour classes at Tri-C. You take the 30, because that's how many credits are allowed a year overall. You subtract your secondary classes times 3. So you're taking, what we say, like 2 classes at Brush. So that's 6. That leaves you 24 credits you can use at Brush, or at CCP, I'm sorry. So that means you can take 24 credits a school year, because the State Department has a number of 30 credits, and that includes classes you are taking at Brush High School. I know that sounds confusing, and so again, if you want to do a hybrid schedule, I would sit down with you and say, you've maxed out, we can't take any more, or the classes at Brush are going to be too many, or you've got plenty of credits left, we can take plenty of classes at the CCP level. The maximum number you can take overall from the time you start CCP until you finish and graduate or you max out is 120 credit hours. If you enroll in more than 30, some students have said, as I said, the student who got the bachelor's degree, he obviously enrolled in more than 30. So you either drop the course or the parent pays for the course, the tuition, the fees, the books. And that's, and again, that's an agreement that we come to with the parent and the child. I hope I didn't lose everybody because my computer just went crazy. Okay, I hope I'm back. All right, I'm going to keep going. Mr. Williamson, if I'm not back, please let me know. So again, as I said, if you take more than 30 credit hours, then the parent would have to pay for the courses and the tuitions and the books. So the high school, there are some tests that are given at the end, like when you're in high school. So what's the difference? You know that in high school, you're going to have classes where you're going to have a weekly test, or at the end of every chapter, you have a test, and then you have assignments and homework in between. Colleges, you usually have less number of tests, but it covers a lot more material. So if you are not an organized student, or you are not someone who is motivated to keep on top of things, you're going to have to learn how to do that, because it's a lot different than high school. You may only have 4 assignments and tests that give you a grade, where in high school you might have 34 assignments and tests that give you a grade for the end of the semester. So keep that in mind. In high school, you usually have a required, depending on the course load that you have, 1 to 3 hours a day of homework. Again, that's depending on the course load that you have. If you're in college, you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to have 2 to 3 hours for every hour spent in class. So if you're taking a class, 2 classes on a Monday, then you're in each class for an hour a day, then that means that you're going to have a lot, 2 to 3 hours for every hour. So that means you're going to have like 4 hours of homework. So keep that in mind. You'll have a lot more homework and a lot more reading and a lot more responsibilities as a college student. And I'm not trying to scare you. Students always say to me, I always keep it real. I don't sugarcoat, keep it right, black and white. So that's exactly what you're going to have to keep in mind. In high school, your information is provided mostly in class, and then there is some out-of-class research, or you might have to do some out-of-class reading. It's minimal. In college, You're generally more independent thinking. You're going to have a lot of writing assignments and longer writing assignments, and you're going to have out-of-class research. So students don't always understand that what the professor lectures on is part of the test or part of the assignment or part of the paper needs to be written on. But then there's a completely another section where the student has to read the textbook and use that material that's not even covered in class in a lecture as part of their work in the college prep or the college plus. So keep in mind, there is a lot of work that has to be done outside of actually attending a class. In high school, as I said, you have a lot of quizzes, tests, and homework. But in college, you're going to have fewer tests and fewer, if any, homework assignments. I do know that a lot of, as I have two sons and both have been in college, there is quite a bit of homework assignments, but there is also a timeline. I know my one son came home over winter break and he was like, oh my gosh, it's 10:50 and I have to have this assignment turned in by 11:59. So he was frantically on his computer trying to get it done and turn every stuff in. So keep in mind, there is time limits and the professors will not take late assignments, and professors are not as forgiving as high school teachers are. So the role of the parent in a high school is, you advocate for your child and you work with us, the teachers, the counselors, the administrators, and you're very involved. At the college level, the parent kind of serves as the mentor and support, but the college is still going to view your child and your student as the final decision maker. And if your child says to the college, I don't want my parents to see my educational records at the college level, that FERPA kicks in, which is the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, and they can hold the grades so the parent doesn't see them. So the colleges don't really want to talk to the parents. They won't, maybe if there's a pinch or if there's an issue or something the child isn't understanding, the parent can step in and say, okay, so let me get this straight so I understand and help my child. But for the most part, colleges will only talk to the student. They don't even like to necessarily talk to me that much about some things for the student. So even as the counselor, when I call from the high school, like, hey, this child's in college, they're a student in college, have them come talk to you and you maybe can help them through that position or that problem. In high school, there's accommodations. So if a student has maybe a learning disability or anxieties, and they are on what's called an IEP, which is an individualized education plan, or they're on a 504 plan, which maybe gives them accommodations of small testing environment or extended time on tests and quizzes or extended time on homework. Those are things you can have in college, and we have to recognize those as federal binding documents. At the college level, colleges do not have to necessarily recognize all of the accommodations that are written on an IEP or a 504 for a child that has been written at the high school level. So for instance, most colleges will recognize extended time on tests. So if the IEP or 504 says the student gets time and a half, so if the test is an hour, they will give the students 90 minutes to take that test. And they will not usually have them take the test in the classroom that they would normally take it in, if it's a normal non-COVID kind of situation, or if it's online, it will cut off at 90 minutes. They will test them in a testing center. So that way the student doesn't have to get up and move because maybe another class would be coming into that classroom for a new class. But if a student has on their IEP that they get extended time on homeworks, or they get modified homeworks, or their homework they get parts of it in chunks, or it's not as extensive as the average student, colleges do not recognize that. So they will not do those accommodations. Some colleges have a student services center that will sit down with kids one-on-one, but not all of them do that. So keep that in mind. If your child has an IEP or 504, pretty much the only accommodations you will find they will recognize is extended time on tests and quizzes. So students can earn high school and college credit at the same time. You can get a head start. Clearly, it is an expensive venture to take your child to college and to give your child that college education that we also want to see them get. So this is a way for you as the parent and the child to save quite a bit of money because you don't pay for it. If you are in that class, South U Lyndhurst pays for that class, they pay for the books. And if there's like, say, a lab fee, and it's not a crazy lab fee, they'll pay for the lab fee. It gives your child also an experience in college, and so they can understand what college is about, the expectations, maybe more safe environment, thinking, okay, well, I'm going to get my feet wet, and I'm not sure I want to spend all the money myself, so I'm getting my feet wet. If you don't earn a passing grade or you withdraw late from the course, the districts may require you to reimburse if the district has to pay. So for instance, if a course, most college courses are costing around between $500 and $700, depending if you're at Tri-C or if you're at Notre Dame. If your child is not on free and reduced lunch, then we'll require reimbursement for that class. And your child will not be able to receive a final transcript or their diploma. They can graduate from high school, but we will not be giving them their diploma or final transcript if there are still outstanding fees, CCP fees or any other fees. But if there's outstanding fees, they will not get that high school diploma. And then your grades that you earn on your students' college transcripts are permanent. So they're not going to take them off. Those are there forever. So if your child fails or withdraws often from classes, so, like I get in the class, I'm in it for a couple of weeks and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. And you take out. And then you're in another class for a couple of weeks, like, oh, I don't want to do that. At some point, the colleges are going to say, well, wait a minute, I don't know if this child is ready. So your future financial aid could be impacted because college financial aids will have financial aid reports that they report to future colleges your child might attend to. So, and also if your child does poorly, they can be placed on CCP probation or CCP dismissal if they're not performing up to the college's standards. If you're on probation, you earn less than a 2.0 in your college courses, or you withdraw from 2 or more classes in one academic term. That means you're on College Credit Plus probation. And you may only enroll in one college credit course for one college term if you're on probation, and you cannot enroll in the same subject in which you previously earned that D, F, or the NC, which is basically you dropped the class, you withdrew. If you're dismissed, you did not increase your GPA to over a 2.0, and you're placed on dismissal. And while you're on dismissal, you cannot enroll in any College Credit Plus courses. And these are state. This PowerPoint I'm showing you right now is directly from the State Department. So these are State Department rules. And while you're on the dismissal, you may enroll in you can't enroll in any college courses, and you might appeal it, so you might be able to get back into it. But again, that's up to the colleges. So you can appeal to take the course in the same subject if you appeal. And if the dismissal, within 5 days of being dismissed, you can appeal for this to the secondary school, which is Brush, to appeal for your behalf. Now, I have been the CCP counselor, primarily the only CCP counselor, I think, for 6 years, never had anybody on probation, and knock on wood, and I've never had anybody dismissed. So you really got to kind of mess up if you're going to get dismissal or probation. So just keep that in mind. The expenses, there really are no expenses for tuition, fees, and books. Private schools, there will be no cost to the families. For the tuition, required fees and books, but the students might be charged a small credit cost per hour if it is above and beyond what South U Lyndhurst and the State Department has determined we will pay for a college class. So check to see if you want to go to a private school, if that fee is going to have to maybe be a small fee to the parent. And then there's going to be some optional expenses to the responsibility of the family and the parent, like parking. I know Tri-C and Notre Dame do not charge for parking, but transportation, obviously you got to get from A to B. I know in the past, and I don't know if Tri-C is still doing that because of COVID, but in the past they have given students RTA passes if they are a student at Tri-C, so they can ride the bus for free back and forth to Tri-C. Again, I don't know if they're doing that now because most students are still doing remote and online classes at Tri-C. So you must complete the intent to participate form and give that back to me at Brush by April 1st. That form is on our website under the guidance, Charles F. Brush, SEL's Charles F. Brush page, and then under the guidance tab. And then on the right-hand side, you're gonna see like quick links. The college intent to participate form is there. And on that form, it's 2 pages. You need to check option A, which is family pay, meaning you want to do CCP classes, but you want to pay for them, which I think would be kind of silly. Or you want to do option B, which is you have us, South Lyndhurst Schools, Ohio, pay for your courses, but you need to mark that so I know what you're doing. Also on that intent to participate form, I have a line listed for you to say which colleges you want to apply to, because once you turn that form into me, and you have listed, you can list more than one. Please don't list 97, but you can list, usually the students list Tri-C, Cleveland State, or Notre Dame. Those are the big 3 that we use. And you list those, I automatically will have a transcript run and I will send it to the CCP office. So it's sitting there waiting for your application to come in. So please make sure you write, and don't just say colleges, because I'm not gonna know where to send it. So please make sure you write specific schools where you would like that your transcript sent, so I know how to send your transcript and what office to send it to. So as I said before, the option is A, is self-pay. You can choose college credit and high school credit, or you can just do college credit on your own. You have to, and you'll indicate a tentative plan to use either the option on your intent to participate form. And you must select this option by informing the colleges when you register for the classes. So the colleges will not charge us and you're not being charged as well. And the final date to change that election of option A or option B is on or before the college's no-fault withdrawal date, which is usually 14 days after classes start. So if classes start, I'm gonna make this up, September 1st, you have until September 15th to change that and the no-fault withdrawal date, meaning you can withdraw and there's not going to be a penalty, you're not going to be charged, and you're not going to have anything on your transcript. Option B is the other way. That means that we, the school system, are paying for the classes. Students may be asked to confirm the election of B when you're doing the college advising process. And then the final date is, again, on or before the college's due date if you want to just change your decision of option A or option B. So, what are your support services? So the high school counselors will continue to provide assistance. I have the CCP students call me all the time saying, well, I'm in this class, I don't know, what am I supposed to say, or how do I do this? Or they'll ask for advice. Obviously, they're asking for advice on what classes to take. I have to approve those. So a student cannot sign up for a class unless I say it's okay. I don't want someone signing up for a class that's either going to be something that they're not ready for or something that is not necessarily what we can approve, like as you saw on the slide before, like a religious course. I have to make sure that everything they're taking aligns with the Ohio State standards for a public school district student. The college supervisors are going to give you the assistance of what course to take. They might say, okay, you know what, you're taking a hybrid class, so you're taking an 8 to 9:30 class at Brush. So obviously you can't take this class, this section, because it starts at 9. So they will help you figure out your schedule for the college as well. And then colleges provide an academic supports, so they can tutoring, library access, advising and counseling. I strongly suggest if your child is struggling in any fashion or even is like hesitant about, I'm not quite sure, contact the professor, get into the tutoring. There's a lot of times online, there are support services online for students. So make sure you do that. If your child is an athlete, we need to talk about how many classes your child can take to still be eligible as an athlete. And if they take classes in the summer, those courses cannot be used to bring your child up to compliance for the Ohio Athletic Association. So keep that in mind. It's not a win for your child if there was some issues in the spring to play in the fall, or those summer classes are still not going to count. They still have to take the 5 classes they need in the fall to be a fall athlete. And if your child's an athlete, you all know those answers to those questions. But we can answer that too when we sit down to talk about classes and course schedule. Most colleges, if it's an Ohio public school, the credits will transfer. But as I said before, I gave you the example of the University of Cincinnati. It is up to the college, it is up to the major, and you need to check. So if your child really wants to go to CASE and they take classes at Tri-C, you really need to call CASE and say, will you take these courses? Not that it would be a waste of your time, because it would give you maybe your feet wet to get into those high school, getting the high school credit and getting the college credit at the same time. So when you go off to college, those classes may not be as difficult, but understand that it's not, those colleges do not have to take those credits. It is up to them. So what does college ready mean? College ready means that you're emotionally and socially able to handle the classes. Please keep in mind that if your child is a 9th grader, so they're 14, 15, and they take college classes, there might be people, and they're my age, 54. It's hard to say. So there might be people in those classes. So there's a whole range of people. It's not going to always be someone who looks and is the same age as your child. There might be discussions that might be uncomfortable. An adult might not be uncomfortable with the conversation or the lecture, but a student at 14 or 15 might be. So that is also something that we as the counselors at the high school and you as the parent need to discuss with your child. And then there's a lot of time management and organization. You know, it is not simple you don't just have a book, you answer the questions in the chapter and turn it in, and that's your high school or your college assignment. That's a high school assignment. College assignments might be more in depth, and the questions are much more intense and much more thought process. So keep in mind that if your child is not ready for that huge commitment and they're not good at time management and organizational skills, you as a parent might be stepping in to help them out a little bit. And it's more than just being academically ready. So as we have said before, grades for the CCP courses are for high school and for college, and they're going to be calculated into your student's GPA at both places. And then the college credits will be utilized in the calculation of financial aid after high school. So April 1st is the intent to participate form. Again, that is on our website. If you need a form and you want to email me and ask me, I will gladly send you one. If you want your child to take the ACT or SAT, if they are a junior this school year at Brush High School, we always offer the junior class as a whole a free SAT test day that I believe is in the end of April this year. So that test and those scores could be used for the colleges for CCP. If you want to use those instead of using the AccuPlacer and using their own placement tests. And then the semester deadline for most classes is usually the start of May. So some of the colleges, I know Notre Dame and Tri-C, they start their first summer session like May 15th. So if your child wants to take summer classes, we're not done with Brush High School until June 9th. So they would not be able to take those courses unless there was not a conflict on the timetable. Because we are of a different schedule this year and we are a block schedule, it's a little bit easier this year maybe to squeeze a class in, but it might not. So you would have to check. How do you get started? Give me that form first, and then as soon as you turn that form in, having all the different colleges that you want to apply to, start applying to those colleges. I don't do that. I don't apply for your child. You have to apply because a lot of times they want to have a social security number. I don't want to have access to that. So you will apply to the colleges. I have a checklist that I can give parents so you can say, okay, here's what I did first, here's what I do second. That way it's much easier for you. It's kind of mapped out. You need to contact the college and discuss their assessment requirements. That is on the student, not on me as the high school counselor. And then you need to meet with me to discuss, is this class going to be a high school graduation requirement, an elective, what other classes you need to take. So if you have any questions, you can get on the ohiohighered.org site. They have a lot of questions. They have a really good fact and queue. So if you want to ask those questions, or I didn't answer something for you, that might work. All right. And if you want to talk to your counselor, 9th grade is Miss Johnson, 10th grade is Mr. Blazier, 11th grade is Miss Ball, and 12th grade is me, and I'm also the CCP counselor. So that's something that you can also do. I am glad you guys were able to join tonight. I don't know if Mr. Williamson is going to be able to answer the questions and comments. I was not able to see the comments in YouTube, so maybe Mr. Williamson has that. Mr. Williamson, did you find any questions?
Moment, there are 0 questions. If parents are looking to ask questions and you do not have the opportunity to ask your question this evening, if you email Miss Myers, her email address is up on the screen. Miss Ball, the 11th grade counselor, 10th grade counselor, Mr. Blazier, Miss Johnson, the 9th grade counselor, they'll gladly assist you. If you want to contact my office, that is perfectly fine. You can do that. We will communicate with the counselors. If there's a question that you ask that I might not know, there might be a question you ask them they might not know. But either way, we'll get the resolution to you quickly as possible. We hope students take advantage of the opportunities that have been made available through the state of Ohio, as well as the South Euclid schools. We're excited to offer our own CCP course on campus with Mr. James and the biology course that he's teaching this semester. It's running at this moment. Hopefully we'll have more students interested in taking that next year. We'd like to offer 2 sections, 1 each semester would be perfect. So that's a little plug there. Here's a couple questions. Does it help financial aid or hurt it? Just asking. This will not affect if you participate in CCP, this will not affect your financial aid until after you leave and go on to the next place. That's when financial aid will help you when you're no longer a student at the high school and you graduate, if that makes sense. I have a parent indicating that she is present on behalf of her daughter. Perfect. That's okay. Either you or your daughter could have attended. You can always go and check the website. We're going to present this live stream on our school website. So if you have questions, you can go back to it, review it, go to the school website, Rush High School, click guidance, and then that'll take care of you on that piece. Another parent indicating that they are here on behalf of their daughter, Anastasia. Perfect. We'll stick around for a couple more minutes if there's any other questions. Will you still be able to graduate with the honors diploma?
Honors diploma, Mr. Williamson, I can address that. Honors diploma has certain criteria. Yes, if you are taking, say you want the STEM honors diploma, you would have to take so many science classes and math classes to get the STEM. So that would be a discussion you would have to have with your counselor at the high school. So we could schedule you in your classes at the college level to meet the requirements for an honors diploma.
Question regarding, will the ACT be free? So Ms. Myers mentioned that each school year we're obligated to administer either the ACT or SAT, depending on what we do as a school district, to our juniors. And we usually do that in March, the first Wednesday in March. And for the last several years, we've been an SAT school. So this year we're administering the SAT on April 27th. It's a little different than what we typically do, but we are offering that exam for juniors. All juniors in the building will take that exam on that day, and yes, that is free. Since we're an SAT school at this moment, if you want to take the ACT, you would have to register, sign up for that, and pay for that. However, there are some avenues which allow students to take those exams on a waiver, and that's a question that you can discuss with your counselor at a time that you'll have with them. Are there any other questions? We hope to have this live upstreamed presentation up on the school website within the next day or so. If you have any questions that were not answered this evening, again, you can contact my office, contact Ms. Myers, any counselor will gladly assist you. Where do I get the form to sign up for CCP? Okay. Again, the form is on the school website. Go to Brush High School, click on the guidance tab, and then you'll see over on the left-hand side, right-hand side, it'll take you to that piece. How do I receive the checklist? Again, you're gonna wanna go to the school website, Brush, click on the guidance tab, and you'll be able to access that information right there for you. Thank you for spending your evening with us. Hopefully everybody stays warm, stay safe, and if you're a student online tonight, make sure you're doing your homework because we are in school. Have a great night.
Good night.